All right, hi YouTube. I think this is going to be video number two. I'll be scheduling both of these. If you watched the first video, I'm considering, and this might fall apart, but I'm going to really try to do this, is have one video which is just like me dumping my thoughts, just any thoughts that go by my mind. I think autobiographies and all these books that or podcasts or even YouTube videos that allow you to kind of jump into the mind of you know huge historical figures can help in some sense, not just in business, but like how they led their life and how you can like just have a better philosophical look and all that. So I'm going to try to make that video that into its series of for the next 30 years, 40 years. I mean, I'm what, 21 right now, 100 years ideally. Um, and so I'm going to try to do that. And then this segment is going to start a second kind of parallel video series, which would be kind of my advice and uh, what I know thus far and what I recommend for anyone who is in my position. So uh, a lot of you might be starting in a position that is worse than mine. And so I've been in a worse position than I am currently. And I've worked my way kind of up. I've been given a lot of things or opportunities. And I have a lot of, I'm forgetting the word, privileges. But essentially, I want to lay them all out and then give a tiny bit of advice since I'm only 21 and I'm in my era of student, being a student, learning. And so here's a few things. Figure out your priorities, figure them out, and stick with them. Do not judge yourself about them. My priorities were uh, all over the place. I thought XYZ person was my priority. I thought XYZ business was my priority. I thought XYZ, any unit, was my priority. XYZ in this case, for anyone who's starting even younger and doesn't understand that that's a variable, is just, it's a variable. It means it can stand for anything. It's just blank. Anyways, I did not know what my priorities were. Once I figured them out, a lot of the path cleared out. It went from being in a jungle and just like walking and not knowing where you are to being at a crossroads, except it's not two options, it's an infinite amount of options. But I'd rather see the path than no path at all because that just leads to loops. Now, second, you have to be willing to sacrifice, but you should stop worrying about what sacrifices other people have done and decide what sacrifices are worth to you. As in, I realized that I liked going out and having fun with my friends and partying and all these kind of things. But I was willing to sacrifice all of my friendships, every relationship I had that was built on just partying and not about like growth, as long as it meant that I could achieve my dreams of helping other people, providing financial freedom for myself and my family, and I was willing to give them all up every step of the way. It made me feel lonely and alone for almost a year. There were times where I would not see a single person that like was an actual friend of mine and not just a college like classmate or like someone I just did projects with for a very long time. And it was very difficult. Like the fear of missing out was huge, but every step of the way I was like, it's worth it. I was behind in my studies or I was behind in my desires to have an internship or whatever it may have been. In college there have been multiple stages. Sometimes I've been having a very difficult course and I'm like, I'm not getting a good enough grade. Or when I didn't have my first internship, I was like, I'm behind my friends. I don't have an internship. And the reason was I didn't have a green card, so I couldn't get a US citizen, like use a US internship. But it didn't matter. No one was going to care about that. The reality was I needed to get an internship under my belt somehow. And so, I applied to 1,000 jobs and I got one as an internship, and it worked, but it required a lot of time, and it wasn't just like shotgunning easy apply on LinkedIn. That's what exists right now. I don't know if it will exist later, but essentially, it was like really going through each and every application and really pouring my heart and soul into it. Essentially, it came down to the only way out of whatever hole you're in is to work very hard, to blame yourself entirely, even if it isn't your fault, because honestly, it gets rid of every variable. Alex Hermosi is a huge mentor of mine. If you're watching this in the future, I owe you a great deal. And If I haven't been able to make you my friend in the future, I'd love to take you out to dinner any day. Um, but you and Mrs. Hormozy. Um, and so I'm just thinking about fangirling and fanboying on them right now. But anyways, back to focusing. You have to imagine everyone else around you has luck, like Mr. Hormozy has said, and instead, um, you have to act like you have no luck at all, and that puts you in the right frame of mind. Uh, you also have to have this insane belief that people are going to call it insane, but you have to genuinely believe in yourself and just like gaslight yourself into believing this if need be, that you are capable of doing anything, literally anything. Now, be logical. Don't say I can fly and not put anything on your body and just say I'm going to jump and I can now fly. You can't, at least not as of right now. But you you can't, anything that seems achievable or any human has ever achieved, you can be sure that you can achieve it too. At least you have to believe that. And I think the only other advice really I have after that is on like startup creation is just like watch as much content, read as much as possible, but don't just sit there and like not do anything about it. Apply that information, apply that knowledge, and remember that a good product or service doesn't come from a bunch of market research. It comes from just quickly understanding the landscape and then just like building something. Like a big mistake I made, I tried to start up a startup that was in the healthcare space. We did like so much consultancy work because I was in the consulting like industry in the beginning of my college experience. And so I thought, market research and all these things is what I need. You don't. What you really need is to understand who's in the game, what they're doing, what isn't being done, what people are like what are people wanting? What are your customers, potential customers, because you won't even have product market fit. And then you have to go, okay, I have a general idea. I'm going to build something super cheap, or I'm going to build create a service that I can do for so cheap that it wouldn't really take too much out of my bank account. And you can figure out a way to supply this. You can drive Uber, you can get a part-time job, you can ask for like $500 from someone. Putting together $500 can be very difficult, but if you can, I don't see any, at least as of right now, in this current economic condition. I don't see how it is impossible in 6 months if you really get let go of everything else. As I said in the beginning, sacrificing, feeling that loneliness, and that's fine. Feeling it for 6 months and doing an extra shift or extra part time or doing something or another that you can't put together $500 or find someone to give you $500 just in one shape or another. There's also a lot of credits you can get nowadays from like companies, so that might help. Anyways, if you do all that, I think, and create the product, I think that'll work. Now, I have not created a product that's a startup worthy product. I've created software products. I've had like dropshipping websites. I've done like small things here and there. I've done freelancing, but never like a really big scale product. So I could be wrong. But that is all the advice I have seen every time I watch a million of these videos from Y Combinator and EO and all these different YouTube channels and reading the books and all that. So if you can find product market fit for very cheap, blame yourself for everything, regardless of if it's your fault or not. Believe everyone else around you has luck. Be super disciplined in the sense that you will work harder than you will work harder than you've ever worked in your life to achieve your priorities and your goals. And there was another one I put in there. Essentially, and you will believe that luck only works for others but not for yourself. So you will really just try to use your brain. I think that's another thing. A lot of people don't try to use their brain as much, and that's like Andrew I think Andrew Huberman has talked about this, where he's like, the brain is the most calorie intensive organ, which basically means your brain takes the most energy. So the human mind wants to not use it as much because it's the most energy consumption, and we want to keep as much energy. But if you force your brain to work as much as possible, you will figure out a solution. You are all smart. I believe in every single one of you, regardless of the condition you are in currently. You all can achieve your dreams and aspirations. And even when you achieve them, I will believe that you can achieve more. So, uh, hopefully this can be the start of a second series. I could be completely wrong, so please take this advice as it goes in sense of like take it with a grain of salt possibly. Maybe if I'm more successful and this has worked out and I reiterate it, maybe take it with more, less salt, uh, uh, and more depth. But as of right now, this is what I'm thinking. All right. Thank you. Bye, YouTube.